Hello, this is Mark from Spanish Property Insight. In this video, I'm going to look at the latest data on the housing market in the Balearics to see what evidence there is of a unique housing crisis that justifies a Balearic exception from EU laws, which would allow the region to exclude foreigners from the local housing market. The local government blames foreigners for driving up housing costs and making housing unaffordable for locals. So first, let's look at housing purchase prices. So this table here, which shows house prices in the Balearics, and the black columns are house prices per square meter, and let's do it this way. Get rid of that. That's the house price per square meter, and as you can see, that's been undoubtedly increasing since the middle of the last decade, and was recently at highs like 3,487 a square meter, although it's recently declined. And then let's look at the annualized change in prices, which, as you can see, went through a lot of increase after the pandemic, but has been declining in the last few months, down 12.6% in December, 21% in January. This is all according to the notaries, and I think 21% was the biggest decline in Spain. But nevertheless, as you can see from the average price per square meter in the region, housing has been getting more expensive and is undoubtedly a problem. And if you compare the house prices in the Balearics to other parts of Spain, they're some of the highest in Spain, though I don't think they are the highest. But anyway, they're high. So let's have a look at the next chart, which shows Balearic house prices quarterly and year on year, which is a similar story. Here you can see prices increasing, although on this one, which is not from the notaries, this is from the government department responsible for housing called, by its initials, MITMA. And here you can see a similar story of prices rising, but they're not as high as, well, they've only recently beat their previous highs in 2007, but it's a similar story that prices have been increasing, and that is obviously a problem for people who live there who have to pay these higher house prices. Now let's look at an index of house prices in the Balearics. So let's get rid of the other two. First of all, that is the index of base year 2015, and you can see how prices declined after the real estate crash, bottomed out, then started increasing, have been increasing ever since. And year on year, you see that what we've really just seen in the previous two slides, the house prices have been increasing year on year, but are now declining. And in this one, which is for quarter four, they're still positive, but as we've seen from the notary's data, they have now turned negative. However, if you compare the Balearic situation to the national situation, you see that there's not that big a difference. This is the average national house price index compared to the Balearic one, the average national in red and Balearics as before in the black columns. And you see that it doesn't look exceptional. I mean, the average national price has increased 43%, whereas the Balearics has increased 58%. That's not a massive difference. So this chart would suggest that that house prices in the Balearics have increased substantially, but not exceptionally. Now let's look at rental prices in the Balearics. So here we are looking at a rental price index from 2012, and here you have Ibiza and Palma. This is from a portal called Idealista, which is a big property portal, and they publish rental asking price data. So these are not actual contract price data. This is asking price data, which is not the same thing, but it's the best we have, and it's also the best that I can find for comparing to other regions of Spain. Interestingly, you see these funny waves in Ibiza, which every summer the index goes up and then falls down again. I guess that's just because in the summer months, the rental people in Ibiza are asking, Ibiza is much smaller than Palma, and they're just asking, that reflects the summer season. They're asking more because there's a lot more demand from tourists at that time of the year. However, compared to the index, by the end of this time period, you see they're pretty much, Ibiza's more expensive, up 93% since 2012, and Palma's up 63%. That's a significant difference, but not as big as these waves would suggest. Now, let's compare that to a few other areas to see if the rental price increase in the Balearics is exceptional. So if we start with, let's say, Valencia, well, you can see the increase is not that exceptional. Valencia is up 79%, so more than Palma. So let's try Marbella. Marbella is up 93%, so on a par with Ibiza. And let's try finally Malaga, and there you see Malaga also up significantly. So yes, rental asking prices in cities like Ibiza and Palma have increased significantly over the last decade or more than a decade, but not exceptionally. I mean, these other comparable areas like Valencia, Marbella, Malaga, Palma, where let's add Alicante out of interest. Similar story. So in comparable regions, the Balearics don't look, when you set it against the comparable regions, it doesn't look exceptional. So now I'm expecting children to burst through the door, having just come back from school, so I'm going to pause for a second. I'll be back with you in just a moment. Okay, I'm back. So where were we? Well, now, so we've discussed rental asking prices, and now it's time to turn to sales and the market. How hot is the market? So first of all, let's start off with total demand. As you can see, the market had a big increase after the pandemic. There was like a post-pandemic boom, and if we look at it in terms of the year-on-year change, you see there, you clearly see the boom. Before COVID, the market it recovered after these bad years and was, relatively good years of 16, 17 double-digit growth, but then it had several declining years before COVID, and then a big plunge with COVID, and then a big surge after the pandemic. But if I showed you the same a graph for total demand in all those comparable regions, it would look almost exactly the same. But what would be different is how much the Balearic market has declined in recent months. I think if we look in the very latest quarters from the notaries, I think so. No, in this one you had the foreign total demand down 20% in Q4, but in the latest notaries figures for January, down 28%, and that's by far the biggest declines in Spain. So the market is contracting significantly more than other regions in Spain. So in that sense, it is exceptional. Perhaps something to do with the Govern broadcasting its distaste for foreign buyers loud and wide that's putting off buyers. Maybe that's the cunning plan. So let's now look at foreign demand, so total sales to foreign buyers in the region. And here you see once again the post-pandemic boom, big surge, and then a decline in recent quarters, which, if we look at it just in that, so down 23% in Q4. Now that is, let's have a look. So that's just story for foreign buyers. That big boom, but now declining. Now let's look at what happens to the foreign market share. So what percentage of the market foreigners are. And for that, let's bring in other regions. So this is the same chart as we were just looking at here. No, sorry, I'm talking nonsense. This is the which actually this is the chart foreign market share just for the Balearics. However, I want to compare it to other regions. So let's look at this, which is exactly the same as the chart we just looked at. Here you can see that foreign market share was 40%. So 40% of sales in the Balearics in Q4 at the end of 2020 in 2022 was 40%. So 40% of buyers were foreign. And that's a lot, undoubtedly. That's a big share of the market. However, how does it compare? Now, if we look at, for example, let's put Almeria onto this chart. Nope, that's not a very interesting. Sorry, Malaga. There you go, because Almeria is a much smaller market. Malaga, which is home to the Costa del Sol, as you can see, a comparable level of foreign buyers in the market. And I think Canaries also very comparable. And if we look at Alicante, which is another comparable, even higher. So yes, foreign buyers are an important part. They're not a majority, but they're a significant chunk of foreign demand. But when you compare other regions in Spain that also attract foreign buyers, it's not exceptional at all. And I should add that if you then look at looking just at foreign demand, which is this table, what share are not residents in the region? And here you see that 64% of buyers in the Balearics at the end of in the last quarter of 2022 were not residents. So that's basically holiday home buyers. And that's been pretty consistent. It's a little bit up maybe than in previous years, but it's a fairly consistent picture. Around between 50 and 60% of foreign buyers do not actually live in the Balearics, and you would therefore assume that they're buying second homes or maybe investments. But it also means that between some 40%, between 40 and 45% of foreign buyers in the Balearics are actually resident in the region. And so demonizing foreign buyers is missing that part of the picture, where that they're not all second home buyers. There are also many people who actually live in the region and spend their money there, pay their taxes, create jobs and wealth, and so on and so forth. So I would argue from all of this that from all of this data, that housing in the Balearics is relatively expensive and housing access is a problem that needs to be addressed, but it doesn't justify a Balearic exception. Other places in Spain have a similar problem, but they encourage building more homes to increase the supply, and they don't make blaming foreigners a central plank of their housing policy. Other regional governments sound less xenophobic, don't sound xenophobic, and are far more likely to improve housing access than in the Balearics. That perhaps is the real Balearic exception. So thank you for watching.